Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. What a fight between CHRIS Jenkins, the former welterweight British and Commonwealth champ, and Cyrus Pattinson, who at the time, before this fight, only had 5 wins, 5 fights, 5 wins, 3 by stoppage. Great fight. Southpaw Pattinson, much favoured, much lauded, from Newcastle, Tyne and Wear. Jenkins from Swansea in Wales. You know, I mean, what do you say about fights like this? The British level, although of course Pattinson has, he wants to go higher, much higher. He's being groomed as a possible world champ, but at the moment, you know, this is a British level fight. Terrific punch up between you know, the up and comer, the 28-year-old, and the 34-year-old veteran, former champ. Who is not shot. He's not a shot fighter. He was not necessarily there for the taking. And I think probably Pattinson and Matchroom, his promoters, could probably be forgiven for thinking that Jenkins was there for the taking, because he lost his last 2 fights. He lost to Tyrone McKenna on points, and he got stopped by Florian Marco in 4 rounds. He did score an 8-round win over a completely shot Julius Ndongo, but prior to that he lost his Commonwealth and British titles to Eko Esserman. So you could think, all right, three defeats in 4 fights. Yeah, well, you know, it's an interesting name, a former champ. We'll get him on our record. Well, in the first round, Pattinson came out looking really sharp and landed some very hurtful punches to the body. And immediately I'm thinking they're going to chop down Jenkins. And it was, the sort of writing appeared to be on the wall. Although Jenkins, interestingly, was holding his feet and not allowing Pattinson to push him back. I mean, not in terms of punching back, shall we say, because at times Pattinson was getting a bit frustrated because he was shoving Pattinson back, shoving Jenkins back, and he even put the shoulder in at one point during one of the early rounds. So he was there to kind of. He was physically stronger than Jenkins, that's the way it appeared, but he was there to kind of bully Jenkins and say, you know, you've had your time, this is my time, I've only had 5 fights, so what, I'm the up and comer, I'm going to dominate you. And in the first round he looked like he would dominate him and beat him up and stop him, but in the second round back comes Jenkins landing his own body punches. His punches weren't as sharp as Pattinson's, but they were still, you know, quite accurate, and there were like I said, lots of body punches, and some uppercuts were landing as well. And he wasn't giving Pattinson a chance. He wasn't giving him enough space to control a range and work. You know, get those levers moving. Because at distance, definitely Pattinson he dominated, but Jenkins was up close and personal. Jenkins was the one who, and work rate was good. He was the one landing the punches with both hands. And Pattinson, you know, you could see him thinking, well, it's not meant to be like this. Well, so I definitely gave Jenkins the second round. In the third round, more of the same. I thought in the third round, Jenkins stood off for the first 2 minutes and allowed Pattinson to win the round. And again, when there was space between them and Pattinson could think and work, he was able to land the more meaningful punches, the more hurtful punches, because it did look like he had heavier hands, and no doubt about it. Jenkins has only got, you know, 8 stoppages or KOs in 23 wins. And then Pattinson, in the final minute, allowed Jenkins to get close, and Jenkins started to work him over again. But I still gave the third round to Pattinson. Fourth round, Jenkins didn't make the same mistake. He got close quickly and was landing again. Punches to the body, punches to the head, uppercuts, both fists. And I thought he outworked Pattinson. Pattinson had his moments, but as far as I was concerned, 2 rounds each. It was back and forth for the fourth and the fifth, for the fifth and the sixth round. I think I gave, what did I give the fifth to? I gave the fifth to Jenkins, I think, and the sixth to Pattinson. So it was three rounds each after 6 rounds, and a really entertaining fight. This wasn't a very good card. It was in Newcastle. There were a couple of real duds, real boring fights on the card, but this made up for it. But then after 6 rounds, this was a 10-rounder. The WBA Intercontinental or International or whatever it's called title was on the line. It's a piece of bling that gets you a ranking, but it's pretty much worthless. But for rounds 7, 8, and 9, that's when the youth of Pattinson seemed to sort of take over, because Jenkins couldn't keep up the work rate. He was always a bit slower than Pattinson, and he began to flag a little bit. You would think maybe Pattinson would be the one run out of gas, because this was further than he'd ever been in his career. Again, this was only his 6th pro fight. But Jenkins' age seemed to sort of just take a bit of the edge off him, and Pattinson upped the tempo. He went through the gears a bit and began to beat up Jenkins. And then in the 9th round, between the 8th and the 9th, I think Gary Lockett said to Jenkins, "You got two rounds left in you." And Jenkins, of course, was saying, "Yeah, the bloke's a warrior. He really is. Wales can be proud of this guy." But in the 9th round, it was just getting beaten up basically. And halfway through the round, Jenkins was looking quite forlorn. Didn't seem he was throwing punches back, but he seemed unable to sort of slip and slide what was coming at him. And what was coming at him was becoming heavy artillery, and a lot of it. And then Jenkins' trainer, Gary Lockett, got up on the ring apron, waving the white towel. I don't know whether the referee even saw it, because he stepped in. There seemed to be a pause, and Jenkins sort of looked over as if he'd noticed the towel, and the referee hadn't. And then the ref said, "Okay, that's your lot." No complaint from Jenkins. Afterwards, he was, very generous towards Pattinson. They interviewed him. They interviewed Pattinson, who was equally as gregarious, and it was a terrific domestic level fight. And Pattinson can go on to other things, to higher things. This is going to be an invaluable lesson for him. This 8.5 rounds was really good. For Jenkins, he didn't look shot, but he did look a little bit older. He's obviously over the hill a little bit, but not to the point where he can't give any up-and-comer a test. But does he really want to slip into that gatekeeper mode? He's now at 27 wins, 7 defeats and 3 draws. Maybe it's time for him to walk off into the sunset. He's had a great career, British champ, Commonwealth champ. Also picked up, I think, one of those IBF belts, those secondary belts. So he's won some silverware. Hopefully he's made a bit of money, and maybe it's time for him to step down now, which is fair enough. Good champion, good British level champ, made a couple of defences, didn't quite win the Lonsdale belt outright, which was a shame. Pattinson, is he ready for the British title? I don't know. I'm not someone who believes in hurrying so-called prospects, but there again, Pattinson is 28, so you've got to ask. I don't know, maybe he's no spring chicken, is he really? But this was a good fight. Credit to both guys. Go and watch it. It's on DAZN. Tell me what you think. Leave your comments below. Thanks for your time as always. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. Go on. It takes you just a second to do it. It's much appreciated. And of course, thank you. Hit the like button as well if you like the video. Thank you for your comments in advance. I always enjoy reading them. We'll speak again soon, and bye for now.